November 2004, the Pacific Ocean. The USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group is conducting training exercises off the coast of Southern California, one of the most sophisticated military formations on Earth. Advanced radar systems, infrared targeting pods, airborne early warning aircraft, highly trained fighter pilots, every inch of airspace monitored, every movement tracked, and yet something appears on the screens that nobody can immediately explain. Radar operators begin observing an unusual object. At first, they suspect a malfunction. Then the object appears again and again. The radar returns show something descending from extremely high altitude to near sea level in a matter of seconds. Pilots are scrambled, sensors are activated, multiple systems begin tracking the same target. Years later, the world would know this object by a simple nickname, the Tic Tac. And in that moment, the question emerges that would reshape the modern UAP conversation. Not what did the pilots see, but how did multiple advanced military systems observe the same anomaly? Because modern UAP investigations are no longer driven solely by eyewitness testimony. Today, the unknown is being observed by machines, radar systems, infrared sensors, artificial intelligence, satellite networks, machine learning algorithms. And despite possessing some of the most sophisticated aerospace detection systems ever created, governments around the world continue to encounter incidents that resist immediate explanation. Tonight, we investigate the science behind UAP detection, the technologies, the capabilities, the limitations, and perhaps most importantly, why identification remains far more difficult than detection, because understanding how we search for the unknown may be just as important as understanding what we find. This is UFO to UAP The Disclosure Report. I'm your host, Matt Tones. Tonight's episode is sponsored by growmypod.com, a platform that provides AI-powered podcast growth strategies for the modern podcaster. It removes the guesswork and provides the science to fix any discoverability issues. Check it out. They're offering a fully functional free trial at growmypod.com. Tonight, we examine the technology behind the mystery. For most of human history, the sky was monitored by human eyes. A pilot observed something unusual. A sailor spotted strange lights. A civilian reported an object moving silently across the horizon. Everything depended upon perception, memory, observation, interpretation, but the modern era changed everything. Today, the skies are watched by an immense technological network. Military radar stations, air traffic control systems, early warning aircraft, infrared sensors, weather satellites, space-based surveillance systems, and increasingly, artificial intelligence. The result is something unprecedented. Humanity has never possessed greater awareness of what occupies the skies above us. Yet paradoxically, the UAP question has become more complicated rather than less. Why? Because technology often reveals complexity where certainty once existed, and nowhere is that more apparent than in modern aerospace monitoring. This distinction is absolutely critical. Detection and identification are not the same thing. A sensor can detect something, that does not mean investigators immediately know what it is. Imagine driving down a highway at night. You see headlights approaching in the distance. You know something is there, but until you get closer, you may not know whether it is a car, a truck, a motorcycle, or something else entirely. The same principle applies to aerospace systems. A radar return confirms the presence of an object, but determining exactly what that object is can be extraordinarily difficult, especially under unusual circumstances. And this is where many UAP investigations begin, not with certainty, but with an anomaly, a target that doesn't behave as expected, a signal that doesn't fit known patterns. an object that remains unidentified despite multiple observations. At the heart of modern aerospace surveillance sits one of the most important technologies ever developed: radio detection and ranging. The concept is deceptively simple, but a radar system transmits radio waves. Those waves strike an object. The reflected signal returns. From that information, operators can determine distance, altitude, speed, heading, and movement patterns. Radar transformed warfare, civilian aviation, weather forecasting, missile defense, and space surveillance. Modern radar systems are vastly more sophisticated than the rotating screens often depicted in films. Today's systems can track hundreds of targets simultaneously. Some can detect objects hundreds of kilometers away. Others can differentiate between aircraft, drones, birds, weather systems, and missiles. Yet radar has limitations, and those limitations matter. One of the most misunderstood aspects of UAP investigations is the assumption that radar provides perfect information. It does not. Radar is incredibly powerful, but it is not infallible. Atmospheric conditions can affect returns. Electronic interference can create anomalies. Signal reflections can produce unexpected results. Software filtering can introduce interpretation challenges. And sometimes multiple systems disagree. And this is where things become complicated. Because when operators encounter unusual radar returns, investigators must ask several questions. Was the target real? Was the signal genuine? Could atmospheric conditions explain the reading? Was electronic warfare involved? Or is the object behaving in a way that genuinely requires further investigation? These questions sit at the center of modern UAP analysis. The USS Nimitz incident remains one of the most important examples of modern multisensor detection. The encounter began not with pilots, but with radar operators. The USS Princeton had recently upgraded its radar capabilities. The new system immediately began detecting unusual targets, objects appearing at high altitude, descending rapidly, remaining difficult to track consistently. At first, operators suspected equipment problems. That would have been the logical explanation. New systems often produce unexpected issues. But the anomalies persisted. Eventually, pilots were dispatched. Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate approached the location. What followed became one of the most discussed UAP encounters in modern history. The pilots reported observing an unusual white object. No visible wings, no visible propulsion, no obvious exhaust. The object appeared to maneuver in unexpected ways. Now, pause here, because this is where modern UAP discussions often go wrong. The significance of the Nimitz case is not necessarily that it proves extraordinary technology. The significance is that multiple systems observed something unusual: radar, pilots, sensors, different sources of information converging on the same event. That convergence is what makes investigators pay attention. Historically, UFO reports often relied heavily on eyewitness testimony. Today, that is changing. Modern investigations increasingly focus on data. The question is no longer, what did someone claim to see? The question is, what did the sensors record? This shift represents one of the most important transformations in the history of UAP research, because data creates opportunities for scientific analysis. Patterns can be studied, comparisons can be made, hypotheses can be tested, and uncertainty can be measured more effectively. But data alone is not enough, because modern aerospace systems do not rely on a single sensor. They rely on many, and that is where the story becomes even more fascinating. Military systems increasingly use what analysts call sensor fusion. Information from multiple systems is combined into a single operational picture. Radar, infrared, visual tracking, electronic intelligence, satellite feeds, everything integrated. The goal is simple: reduce uncertainty, increase awareness, improve decision making. But occasionally, sensor fusion produces something unexpected. An object appears across multiple systems simultaneously, yet investigators still struggle to identify it conclusively. These incidents occupy a unique category because they're no longer isolated observations, they become data rich events. And those events have increasingly driven modern UAP investigations. Some people assume the UAP debate is fundamentally about extraterrestrials. The reality is far more nuanced. For governments, the issue begins with identification. Unknown objects operating within monitored airspace represents uncertainty, and uncertainty creates risk. The military does not like uncertainty. Air traffic controllers do not like uncertainty. Intelligence agencies do not like uncertainty. Every unidentified object raises questions. Could it be a drone, a foreign surveillance platform, experimental technology, sensor error, atmospheric phenomena, or something else entirely? The first responsibility of any monitoring system is to answer those questions, and when it cannot, investigation begins. If radar forms the foundation of modern aerospace detection, infrared technology provides another critical layer, because not everything is visible to sensors can be seen by the human eye. Every object emits energy, heat, thermal radiation. Infrared systems are designed to detect that energy. Unlike conventional cameras, which depend upon visible light, infrared sensors detect temperature differences, day or night, cloud cover or darkness. Infrared systems remain among the most important tools available to modern military forces, and increasingly they become central to UAP investigations, because some of the most famous UAP footage ever released to the public was not captured by ordinary cameras. It was captured through advanced infrared targeting systems, machines specifically designed to identify threats, machines designed to find what human eyes cannot. When most people think of military aircraft, they imagine speed, weapons, advanced maneuverability. But one of the most important capabilities carried aboard modern fighter aircraft is observation. Modern targeting pods contain extraordinary technology, forward-looking infrared systems, FLIR or FLIR. These systems provide pilots with the ability to track targets at significant distances. They can identify heat signatures, monitor movement, record encounters, and provide analysts with valuable information after an incident occurs. The famous gimbal, go fast, and portions of the Tic Tac footage all emerge from systems like these, not consumer cameras, not eyewitness sketches, military grade sensor platforms. And that distinction matters because the modern UAP conversation increasingly revolves around sensor data rather than stories. Among the most discussed pieces of UAP footage is the event now known as the gimbal encounter, captured by Navy personnel, recorded using advanced infrared systems. The footage shows an unusual object. The target appears to rotate. Pilots can be heard reacting. Questions immediately emerged. What exactly was being observed? Could the rotation represent a genuine maneuver? Could it be an optical artifact? Could atmospheric conditions influence the image? Could the sensor itself contribute to the appearance? These questions illustrate an important lesson. Even sophisticated systems require interpretation. A sensor records data. Analysts must determine what that data means, and sometimes the process is extraordinarily difficult. Historically, many UFO reports suffered from a common problem: lack of evidence. Someone reported seeing something unusual, but little supporting information existed. Infrared systems changed that equation. Now investigators could review recordings, analyze thermal signatures, measure movement patterns, compare observations across multiple systems. This transformed UAP investigations from anecdotal events into technical investigations, but also created a new challenge. The more data collected, the more complicated some cases became, because advanced sensors occasionally recorded events that did not fit neatly into existing categories. And when that happens, investigation intensifies. One of the most important aspects of infrared technology involves propulsion analysis. Traditional aircraft generate heat, jet engines generate heat, missile systems generate heat, rocket propulsion generates heat. Infrared systems allow analysts to study those signatures. This can help determine aircraft type, propulsion method, operating characteristics, performance limitations. But occasionally, an object may not display expected thermal characteristics. That does not automatically make it extraordinary. Many explanations remain possible: sensor angle, distance, atmospheric conditions, system limitations. Yet these unusual observations are precisely what investigators seek to understand, because every anomaly represents a question. An unanswered question drives research. While radar and infrared systems monitor local airspace, another layer of observation operates far above Earth: satellites. Thousands of them, some civilian, some commercial, some military, some highly classified. Collectively, these systems provide unprecedented awareness of global activity: weather systems, missile launches, aircraft movement, naval operations, environmental changes. Modern satellite capabilities are extraordinary. Some systems can identify objects smaller than a meter. Others monitor heat signatures across vast regions. Still others provide persistent observation of strategic areas. In theory, satellites should help resolve many mysteries, but reality is more complicated. Many people ask a simple question: if satellites can monitor the planet continuously, why don't they simply reveal the truth about UAPs? The answer lies in coverage, resolution, timing, and access. Most satellites are designed for specific purposes: weather monitoring, communications, reconnaissance, environmental observation, not continuous UAP tracking. Even when satellites capture unusual events, the data may remain classified or incomplete or unavailable to civilian researchers. This creates another recurring challenge. The best information often exists inside systems that cannot be publicly examined. And that tension sits at the heart of modern UAP investigations. Now we arrive at perhaps the most important concept in modern UAP detection: multi-sensor fusion. This is where separate systems work together: radar, infrared, I should say, visual observation, electronic intelligence, satellite feeds, air traffic data, everything combined into a single operational picture. The goal is straightforward: reduce uncertainty, increase confidence, improve situational awareness, because any individual sensor can make mistakes. But when multiple systems independently observe the same event, confidence increases dramatically. This is why modern military analysts pay particular attention to multi-sensor cases, not because they automatically prove everything or anything extraordinary, but because they provide richer data sets, and richer data sets create stronger investigations. Yet even the most sophisticated systems have limitations. Every sensor possesses blind spots. Every technology operates within constraints. Radar can be affected by atmospheric conditions. Infrared systems depend on thermal contrast. Optical systems can suffer from perspective distortions. Satellites have coverage limitations. Electronic systems can experience interference. This reality is important because technology does not eliminate uncertainty. It helps manage uncertainty. And sometimes it reveals just how much uncertainty still exists. One of the most profound lessons emerging from modern UAP investigations is this: Data alone is not understanding. The world now generates enormous quantities of information every second, every minute, every hour. Sensors collect more data than human analysts can manually process. The challenge is no longer obtaining information, the challenge is interpreting it correctly. And this is where the next frontier emerges: artificial intelligence, machine learning, automated anomaly detection. Technology is designed not simply to collect data, but to understand it. For decades, the greatest challenges in aerospace monitoring was collecting data. Today, the challenge is something very different: understanding it. Modern military and civilian sensor systems generate extraordinary amounts of information: radar returns, infrared imagery, satellite observations, electronic intelligence, flight telemetry, weather data. Every second, millions of data points flow through global monitoring systems. No human analyst can examine everything. The volume is simply too large. And that is where artificial intelligence enters the picture, not as a replacement for human investigators, but as a force multiplier. A system capable of identifying patterns hidden within oceans of information, a system capable of finding anomalies, and increasingly, a system capable of asking questions humans may never think to ask. Artificial intelligence operates differently from traditional software. Traditional programs follow instructions. Artificial intelligence learns patterns. Imagine showing a computer millions of examples of aircraft, commercial jets, military fighters, helicopters, drones, weather balloons, birds. The system begins recognizing normal behavior, normal flight characteristics, normal movement patterns, normal signatures. And once a system understands normal, it becomes far better at identifying abnormal. And this is where modern anomaly detection begins. The machine searches for events that do not fit expected patterns: unexpected speed, I should say, unexpected altitude, unexpected movement, unexpected thermal characteristics, unexpected trajectories, not because the machine knows what the object is, but because it recognizes something unusual is occurring. The future of UAP detection may look dramatically different from the past. Historically, an unusual event depended upon a witness: a pilot, a radar operator, an observer. Someone had to notice. Tomorrow's systems may operate differently. Artificial intelligence may continuously monitor airspace activity, thermal signatures, radar returns, satellite observations, electromagnetic emissions, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, across multiple continents simultaneously. The result could be the most comprehensive aerospace monitoring capability ever created, and that capability could fundamentally change how humanity investigates unexplained phenomena. As technology evolved, so did the institutions responsible for investigating anomalies. In 2022, the United States Department of Defense established the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, also known as AARO, spelled AARO. The office was designed to investigate unidentified phenomena across multiple domains, not simply the air, but also space, maritime environments, underwater environments, and transitional zones between them. The mission reflected a profound shift. Governments were no longer treating anomalous observations as isolated incidents. Instead, they were building dedicated investigative frameworks, institutional structures, formal reporting channels, analytical methodologies, and perhaps most importantly, data driven investigative systems. Historically, many UFO investigations focused on witness testimony. Today, the emphasis increasingly falls on data acquisition. Arrow's challenge is not simply determining what people report, the challenge is determining what the sensors observed, what radar recorded, what infrared systems captured, what satellites detected, and what intelligence systems can verify. This shift from narrative driven investigation to data driven analysis represents one of the most significant developments in the history of UAP research because science advances through evidence, and evidence begins with reliable observation. Yet, despite all these technological advances, a fundamental problem remains: the data gap. Not every event is captured by multiple sensors. Not every radar return can be preserved indefinitely. Not every observation occurs under ideal circumstances. Many incidents happen unexpectedly, briefly, without warning, and sometimes the available information simply isn't sufficient to reach definitive conclusions. This is an uncomfortable reality. The public often assumes that modern technology should provide instant answers, but the truth is more complicated. Technology can reduce uncertainty, it cannot eliminate it entirely. This brings us to one of the most important concepts in modern UAP investigations: strategic uncertainty. Military systems are built around identification: known, unknown, friendly, hostile. Every object ideally falls into a category. But occasionally, something resists categorization. An object is detected, observed, tracked, yet remains unidentified. That uncertainty itself becomes operationally significant because governments do not investigate anomalies solely because they are mysterious. They investigate because the uncertainty creates risk. Could the object represent foreign technology, advanced drones, electronic warfare systems, classified aerospace programs, or sensor artifacts, or something entirely unexpected? The answer matters, and until the answer is known, the investigation continues. This may be one of the most important lessons from modern UAP research. Detection is becoming easier. Identification remains difficult. The world now possesses extraordinary sensor capabilities. We can track ballistic missiles, monitor satellites, observe aircraft across continents, map the planet continuously, and yet certain events remain difficult to classify. This does not necessarily imply something extraordinary, but it does reveal an important truth. The sky is more complex than many assume, and modern technology often reveals complexity rather than certainty. The future of UAP detection is already taking shape. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, autonomous sensor networks, commercial satellite constellations, civilian scientific initiatives. Projects such as the Galileo project seek to deploy dedicated systems designed specifically to collect high quality anomaly data. For the first time, researchers are building infrastructure focused not on providing extraordinary claims, but on systematically collecting evidence. And this distinction matters because science begins not with conclusions, but with observation. The stronger the observation become, the stronger the conclusions may eventually become. Now, this is an important question. Many people assume UAP research exists solely to prove extraordinary explanations, and that is not the purpose of science. Science seeks understanding. If future investigations reveal that many anomalies result from atmospheric effects, sensor limitations, human perception, advanced drones, or classified technologies, then that is valuable knowledge. Likewise, if certain anomalies continue resisting explanation despite increasingly sophisticated investigation, that is valuable knowledge too. The goal is to not to confirm a belief. The goal is to understand reality more accurately. Ultimately, the science of UAP detection is about more than unidentified objects. It is about humanity's relationship with uncertainty. For centuries, people looked to the skies and wondered what existed beyond their understanding. Today, we possess technologies capable of monitoring the world with unprecedented precision, yet uncertainty remains. Perhaps that should not surprise us. Every major scientific breakthrough begins with unanswered questions. Every frontier begins with anomalies. Every discovery begins with something that does not fit existing explanations. The unknown has always been science's greatest invitation. The modern UAP conversation is no longer defined solely by eyewitness reports. It is increasingly shaped by technology. Radar systems, infrared sensors, satellite surveillance, artificial intelligence, multisensor fusion. The world's most advanced detection networks now watch the skies continuously. And yet some questions remain unresolved, not because technology has failed, but because understanding always lags behind observation. As governments, scientists, and researchers continue refining their tools, the picture may become clearer, or perhaps new mysteries will emerge. Either way, the search continues, because the story of UAP is ultimately not just about what appears in the sky, it's about how humanity uses science to confront uncertainty itself. And perhaps that is the most important discovery of all. This has been UFO to UAP The Disclosure Report, hosted by me, Matt Tones. Thank you for listening. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep looking up.